Good evening, everybody. My name is Rakesh Patel. I am managing partner at PLC India. So, first of all, I would like to welcome former Chief Justice of Allahabad High Court, Mr. Govind Mathur Saab, to the webinar. He was elevated as Chief Justice of Rajasthan. He was elevated as Judge of Rajasthan in 2004. He has served as a Chief Justice of Allahabad High Court from 2018 to the April this year. During his tenure, he decided on pertinent matter related to human rights and constitutional law. He truly has been a server of fundamental rights and constitution values. Without wasting any time, I'd like to invite Sir to enlighten us on this topic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rakesh Patel and all the members of PLC India Limited. My best wishes for this legal firm, which is a uprising firm. My best wishes for working in Rajasthan and certainly in other parts of the country. Am I audible, Mr. Patel?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
I also thanks for inviting me to have interaction with participants on a very important subject, that is with regard to interpretation, judicial interpretation of constitutional moralities. The term constitutional moralities itself is not much used, but quite important. I'm not going to enter into the facts relating to that what Dr. Ambedkar mentioned on basis of what the court said while discussing several issues in the Constituent Assembly. My sole anxiety is to discuss the subject given, especially in light of the term constitutional morality in present circumstances. As you all know, the scenario of entire system. When I am saying system, it doesn't mean it is not confined only to judiciary. I am concerned with the entire constitutional system, the system that was introduced for governance of India in our constitution. We have legislature, we have executive, we have judiciary, and fortunately, from inception, all the three wings of system or all the three faces of the state are doing quite well. In every system, you can see certain ailments, certain fistulas there. But if those are curable, then nothing is to worry. But what we have noticed in last decade or little more, that in our system, there is a systematic entrance of certain other things also. Media is also playing a vital role. When I am saying media, it also includes social media. It also includes other pressure groups and the pressure groups existing in different wings of the system also. After my retirement, while chatting with the journalist, when I was subjected to an interview, a question was asked to me, ki, sir, as a judge, was you a leftist? The question was very direct and very clear. And my response was, as a judge, I am neither leftist nor rightist, but yes, certainly a constitutionalist. I was always governed by provisions of the Constitution, by constitutional values, and ultimately the morality of my Constitution. My Constitution, our Constitution, that is the Constitution of India. And my guiding force, my torch for interpreting each and every event, each and every issue before me was only the Constitution of India. Though not asked, but I also conveyed to him that it is not only as a judge, but I also prefer to adopt, accept, and promote all constitutional values in my personal as well as social life also. In counter, he again asked me, sir, I have heard that you always keep Gita with you. So is it Gita ji or the Constitution of India? I responded, certainly my day-to-day life, my philosophy relating to my life is guided, certainly guided by the philosophy of Gita ji, the philosophy of work, the philosophy of total welfare of human being. But so far as my each and every incident, every action is concerned relating to my society, my country, and my behavior with all social activities, that is governed by the Constitution, or I try to be governed by the values promoted and enriched by my Constitution. In very broad terms, when we talk about constitutional morality, then what is constitutional morality? It is on the basis of our constitutional values, on basis of our constitutional provisions, on basis of the idea of giving constitution to a new country in the name of Bharat, India. Are the constitutional moralities which are to be kept in mind by each and every judge, and not only the judge, but each and every person who is concerned with any phase of the state out of the three wings. Basically, the constitutional morality is, in light of our constitutional provisions, constitutional values, constitutional ethos, what is to do, and what is not to do. That is constitutional morality. When we talk about how a judge is required to interpret constitutional morality while sitting in court and also while examining cases or different issues coming before him or her, is the permissibility under provisions and values of the Constitution of India to do and not to do. The fundamental thing that is required to be kept in mind is, yes, Constitution permits to do this and further doesn't permit to do in that fashion. So we are required to see that what is to be done and what is not to be done. For what the Constitution permit and what are values of the Constitution while sitting in a court or even otherwise. I can't breach any feather of the concept of equality. I can't go against the concept of republic. I can't go against the concept of secularism. And ultimately, I have to see that what extends and imparts justice, social, economic, and political. What are the events that extends fraternity in the society? So broadly, this is the constitutional morality. The things on basis of which I can go forward, and the things where I have to keep the restraint. And what is the criteria? That is our constitutional values. On basis of that, I have to examine my constitutional morality and the constitutional morality of entire system. Few days back, certain judgments were there, or to better to say, I have seen certain orders in bail applications. Those can't be termed as judgments, bail orders, where certain history observations were made. One by Jharkhand High Court, other by Madhya Pradesh High Court, then by Allahabad High Court, prior to that by Rajasthan High Court. All those were subject matter of discussion at large in social media. What I think is that the courts must take care, and before mentioning a single word in their order, they are required to see, they are required to assess that it is, whether it is permissible in light of our constitutional moralities, whether it is permissible in light of our constitutional provisions to mention these observations. It is not the question of simple disposal of an application under CRPC or sometimes in CPC or in some other provision. Ultimately, the fountainhead of every law is the Constitution, and the Constitution was made by the Constituent Assembly after deep discussions, after very serious discussions by the representative of people from different sections, different areas, different regions, and therefore we mentions that we do hereby adopt, enact, adopt, and give ourselves the Constitution of India. So in this background, we are required to examine what are the issues, how interpretation is to be made of constitutional morality by the courts, or in our judicial system. in present circumstances, the task is little difficult. Different pressures are there. And the most important pressure is, when we talk of constitutional morality, a new term is coined as public morality, social morality. In my view, there is no public morality or social morality. These are social sentiments or public sentiments. The public morality is nothing but the constitutional morality, because the public at large is fundamentally duty to obey the constitutional provisions. We are required to respect our constitution. So it is constitutional morality versus public sentiments, social sentiments, majoritarian sentiments, fundamentalist sentiments, and sometimes unwarranted glorification of our past, present, and several other things. Glorification, all right. I am talking about unwarranted glorification that is in direct conflict, that comes in direct conflict with the interpretation of constitutional morality. If you will see on social media, sometimes or on several times, the views just contrary to constitutional values are promoted and propagated. Courts are required to check such sentiments and required to give all reasons to enhance the constitutional moralities. Constitutional ideals. When I'm talking of constitutional ideals, we must understand that these ideals are not outcome of a thought of an individual. These are not, constitutional ideals are not made on a single day. Constitutional ideals are not purely theoretical ideals. These are the ideals which are accepted after a long constitutional debates, after examining several constitutions in light of Indian objective conditions. So the question is of constitutional ideals versus vis-a-vis public morality. Public morality sometimes stands in direct conflict to our constitutional ideals. Mob lynching. Harassment on the issues which are otherwise not relevant to our democratic standards. Several other things may be there. I don't want to give illustrations for that at this stage. But we are required to accept this social reality that groups are there who are coming in conflict of our constitutional moralities. We have to interpret our constitutional moralities by emphasizing our constitutional moral values. And fortunately, our courts, our constitutional court, High Court as well as Supreme Court, they successfully and quite efficaciously and effectively came forward to strengthen the constitutional moralities. the concept of basic structure in Keshwanand Bharati's judgment, much back in the year 1973. Though that nowhere refers constitutional morality, but that strengthens constitutional values and restricts to some extent the legislative whims. There are several judgments in a famous Sabrimala's case, the Indian Young Lawyers Association's Sabrimala Shrine case. Supreme Court in quite unambiguous terms stated that everyone has a right to worship. All stands on same footing, that is of equality, liberty, and freedom. Anything in contradiction to that would be in violation of Article 14, 15, 19, 1, 25, 1. And therefore, set aside the provisions of Clause B of Section 3 of Kerala Hindu Places of Public Worship Act. You all must be aware of that judgment, where the Supreme Court strengthened the constitutional morality. It is not only the Sabrimala's case, but there are several other judgments. Delhi High Court in Naz Foundation. The court was examining the right of LGBTs. The court emphasized that this social morality has to succumb to the concept of constitutional morality. So social morality, if that is coming in the way of constitutional morality, then it is the constitutional morality that will prevail. The constitutional morality is certainly required to be kept at a higher pedestal vis-a-vis the social moralities. The question was considered by Supreme Court in Shaira Bano's case. You all must be knowing about that judgment. Shaira Bano's case, famous triple talaq case, triple utterance talaq case. Very interestingly, if you have read that judgment, the four judges wrote their own different judges, though concurring, arriving at the same conclusion, but for different reasons. I really admire all the judgments, especially the judgment given by Justice R.F. Nariman and Justice Joseph. You see, if you have read the judgments, you must have noticed that the judgment given by Justice Rohinton F. Nariman, that concerns with personal law vis-a-vis constitutional moralities, vis-a-vis provisions of the Constitution, and in a very meticulous manner. Justice Nariman's judgment emphasizes that it is the constitutional law, it is the constitutional morality that will prevail over personal law or your personal or social moralities, because it is ultimately the concept of equality. That is the fundamental thing of our Constitution, and therefore while interpreting any issue, the constitutional morality is to be kept on forefront. Everything is required to be examined and interpreted in that light. Interestingly, Justice Joseph, the judgment given by Justice Joseph, really a classic piece of judgment writing that deals with all the cultural moralities, all cultural issues, and how cultural issues are in consonance with our constitutional morality. Friends, these are the basic issues which are required to be kept in mind while dealing with our each and every issue coming for adjudication, for discussion, and to be implemented or executed in any forum or on any platform. Ultimately, our system will work on basis of our constitutional morality, on basis of our constitution, our values. A very important judgment I would like to read certain relevant parts of that judgment because very beautifully all those things includes all those whatever is stated in the relevant parts of the judgment that explains the entire topic of today's webinar. That judgment is Navtej Singh Johor's case. You all must be knowing about the facts of the case. This was the judgment, this was the case where provisions of section 376, 377 Indian Penal Code were assailed. The Supreme Court declared section 377 bad, and while doing so, yes, 3 different judgments were given. But I am reading relevant part of the judgment given by the then Chief Justice Deepak Mishra. And I tell you what I'm going to read that explains how constitutional morality is to be interpreted while dealing with each and every issue before the court or each and every issue coming before any wing of the system. You see what the court has stated. I am reading para 82 onwards. I will take 4 or 5 minutes in reading this, but you will find that this is the most relevant part. In the judgment itself mentions that our constitution is an organic document, a living organism, a chain between our system and a society, living organism between our system and citizens. And therefore, it is the constitutional values, it is the constitutional morality that will always remain on forefront. You see, I'm reading this para 82 onwards. I'm sorry, normally I don't read, but looking to the words of this judgment, whatever is stated in this judgment, I considered it appropriate to read it. A democratic constitution like ours is an organic and a breathing document with senses which are very much alive to its surroundings, for it has been created in such a manner that it can adapt to the needs and developments taking place in the society. It was highlighted by this court in the case of Chief Justice of Andhra Pradesh and others versus LBA, Distulu and others, that the Constitution is a living, integrated organism having a soul and consciousness of its own, and its pulse beats emanating from the spinal cord of its basic framework can be felt all over its body, even in the extremities of its limbs. This is how the Indian Constitution has been introduced by the Supreme Court in Navtej Singh Johhar's case. While giving a reference and while quoting an earlier judgment, the Supreme Court mentioned, our Constitution is organic in nature. Being a living organ, it is ongoing, and with the passage of time, law must change. Horizons of constitutional law are expanding. We are required to keep in view the dynamic concepts inherent in the Constitution that have the potential to enable and urge the constitutional courts to beam with expansionism that really grows to adapt to ever-changing circumstances with our losing the identity of Constitution, the idea of identity of the individual and constitutional legitimacy behind the same is of immense significance. Therefore, in this context, the duty of constitutional courts get accentuated. We emphasize on the role of the constitutional courts. You see what is the role of the courts. We emphasize on the role of the constitutional courts in realizing the evolving nature of this living instrument. Through its dynamic and purposive interpretive approach, the judiciary must strive to breathe life into Constitution and not render the document a collection of mere dead letters. You see what kind of interpretation the Supreme Court is suggesting, that is dynamic and most important, purposive interpretation. In our law of interpretation, it is treated as a mode rarely used. It is not a common phenomena of interpretation, but while examining the validity of any provision, while considering any act impugned, the impine action is to be examined. Any act impugned, the impine action is to be examined by keeping in mind the purposive interpretation also. And what the purposive interpretation? The purpose of our constitutional provisions ultimately. So it is required to, every event is required to be analyzed and interpreted in light of our constitutional provisions. What it further mentions, again, some part is quoted of earlier judgment. The duty of the court to supply vitality, blood and flesh to balance the competing rights by interpreting the principles to the language or the words contained in the living and organic Constitution broadly and liberally. So while you are interpreting the provisions of Constitution, wings are always required to be kept open. Wings are always required to be broad enough to bring each and everything in its domain, in its purview. We are required to examine the things on basis of what is the thrust and what is the purpose of the Constitution and its values. What it further mentions now, it is the last para I am reading. The rights that are guaranteed as fundamental right under our constitution are the dynamic and timeless rights of liberty and equality. And it would be against the principles of our constitution to give them static interpretation without recognizing their reformative and evolving nature. If you restrict yourself, if you remain static while giving interpretation to anything, especially the constitutional provisions, then you are failing the constitution. You are failing our system. The argument does not lie in the fact that the concepts underlying these rights change the changing times, but the changing times illustrate and illuminate the concepts underlying the said rights. In this regard, the observation in video electronics such and such, then again I am quoted, Constitution is a living organism and the latent, I will leave this part because this has already been mentioned earlier. Our Constitution fosters and strengthens the spirit of equality and envisions a society where every person enjoys equal rights, which enable him or her to grow and realize his or her potential as an individual. The guarantee of recognition of individuality runs through the entire length and breadth of this dynamic instrument. So friends, what is the mode and what is the criteria for interpreting constitutional morality while examining any impine action? I think the law laid down by Supreme Court in Navtej Singh's case is sufficient to understand the entire issue. It is quite easy these days. I have seen in every case on social media, you will find for every incident, yes, please hang him, hang her, send him behind the bars. Can the liberty of an individual, liberty of life, be taken in such a light way? You all are lawyers or students of law. It is your principal duty to protect, to ensure, to save our constitutional provisions, constitutional values, constitutional morality by interpreting the provisions in a liberal manner, in the manner that a concept of democracy demands. We are the biggest, largest democracy on this globe, but we are not democratic. Our democracy is confined only to casting votes once in 5 years. Otherwise, we are not adapted democratic values in ourselves. Whenever you are having relations with your subordinate, your wife, your friends, normally democracy remains absent. In fact, democratic values are required to be adopted by us in our day-to-day life. When I am saying democratic values, then it is the equality, then it is the fraternity, then it is secularism. We are required to protect all these values given in our constitution, and then only we can go ahead. You must have read that in hunger index, we are below 100 in 114. countries. What about the same is the position about freedom to our press is concerned. There are several you can examine whether our democracy, except elected democratic government, whether we are adhering democratic values or we are adopting constitutional moralities, or we are interpreting the things as per existing constitutional morality. Please examine that. You have to see that these social moralities, yes, social moralities we will accept, but only after scaling those moralities vis-a-vis constitutional moralities. If your social morality is in any manner causing injury to constitutional morality, then it is the social morality that is to go. No pressure is required to be allowed to be worked if that is causing any harm to your constitutional morality. This is the way in which we are required to interpret our constitutional morality, constitutional values. Much time I have taken. It is about 40 minutes I have taken. I think that was the time given to me. Even otherwise, I generally like to interact. While closing my words, I am here if anybody want to ask anything, and if that is also a part of your schedule. Only if that is part of your schedule, I am with you.
Yes. Anybody can ask question. We will take.
So thank you very much.
So Siddharth want to ask question.
Yes, please.
Hello.
I think.
Yes, Siddharth. You can ask question. He's connecting.
First, he is unmuted. He is muted. Let पहले म्यूट बंद करिए, अनम्यूट होइए.
I think he's some technical error in part of Siddharth Pandey.
चलिए कोई बात नहीं.
Anybody else?
Sir, I would like to question.
Please.
Sir, has Justice D.Y. Chandrachud stated in his judgment in Sabarimala case
Yes.
that every test is to be passed through constitutional morality. Every issue must be passed through constitutional morality test. Sir, what is the scope of test of constitutional morality?
You see, constitutional when we talk about when we are talking about the constitutional morality, then yes, whether that offends any of your fundamental rights, basically that is the or any constitutional provision. And further, now so far as I am is concerned, I includes even the directive principles of the state policy. If any act, I don't say that I would be I would have set aside the provision, but I would have certainly examined validity of the provision in light of the provisions of the directive principles of the state policy read with fundamental rights. So all these are the things in light of that is these provisions are to be examined. And I tell you, with regard to the Sabrimala Shrine's case and the judgment given by Justice Chandrachud, Justice Chandrachud in detail discussed with the concept of equality and especially the gender equality. In his judgment, while setting aside clause B of section 3 of the local act. So these all are the provisions in light of which we are required to examine all the issues as asked by you. Anybody else?
Siddharth, I have a question. The constitutional morality regarding sedition law in present context.
I am of the view that even the sedition law is required to be abolished. I am of the view that in any case, this is the most misused provision in our democratic system. And when you will examine for a moment, I am accepting whatever position existing today, but you see the constitutional morality in sedition cases, in most of the cases, the sedition provisions are used to stop the voice of politically opponent persons, and this is not simple election politically opponent. When I say politically opponent, I consider politics as a positive thing, and I am having a definite set of mind view to look all the other events. If I am having a voice of dissent, then the sedition law is used to suppress such voice. In most of the democratic countries, such provisions doesn't exist. Or if exist, then those are used quite when in the rarest of rare circumstances. Anyone else?
Yes, Ms. Banerjee, you can ask question.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, yes.
Actually, sir, I have a question that as you talked about constitutional morality, recently some judgments of high courts like Gujarat High Court have been in the news that the judges have practiced judicial activism and overreach. So do you think that this compromises the constitutional morality in any way?
Certainly, you see, when I am saying that these are the constitutional values which are to be adhered, then the fundamental constitutional value is that we are having the concept of separation of powers. I can't enter into the field already occupied by the executive or legislature. It is normally not permissible. It is only and only extraordinary circumstances. Certain directions can be given, but judges are always required to keep themselves within the four corners of their judicial work. They are not supposed to interfere in legislative functioning. That's why I told you in very inception, I read the order where certain directions, not directions, but certain observations are made about what should be the educational curriculum, what should be there. This is not the work of judiciary. While deciding a bail application, High Court has passed certain directions. The same analogy applies for everybody. Our constitution is the first thing that is to be kept in mind. So overreaching is not at all permissible, but sometimes you will find that courts are not overreaching, but executive. Consider that it is judicial activism or it is encroachment in their field just to give a curtain to their ill deeds. So while arriving at a conclusion whether this is overreaching or not, please examine all facts objectively.
Good evening, sir.
Yes,
I
Mr.
also had a
Patel.
question.
Yes, please.
Yes. So as I was saying, sir, in this extremely political world, there are actually two parallel societies running. One is the conservative society and one is the liberal society. And in these two parallel societies, there are two different kinds of societal norms. And each society tries to propagate their norms and their views in their own way, in which the man does what he thinks is right. So in this view, in this regard, in this extremely bipolar society, how do we determine the constitutional morality pertaining to any issue per se, like even if it is sedition law or it is the section 377? Because when section 377 was abolished by the court, there were many people in our country who opposed that idea. They were pretty opposed to that idea. So how do we determine constitutional morality and stand in consonance in the society?
Mr. Mondal, you see that whatever you are saying, that is permissible in our constitutional article 25 and 26, that permits individual to propagate their view. But so far as scaling those views is concerned, it is on basis of your own constitutional values. It is within the four corners of Article 13 of the Constitution of India. If you are examining validity of any act, number one, it is Article 13 that lays down criteria for examining whether such impugned action is constitutional or unconstitutional, or is legal or illegal. Then our preamble that gives a complete light about our well-settled values. So you are required to check the things in light of our constitutional provisions, but liberal or conservative, liberalism can't go beyond your constitutional values. Conservatism can't go beyond your constitutional values. Everybody is required to work within these four corners. So this is the position, and the liberty is to that extent only. Yes, Mr. Patel, I think enough.
Yes, sir. Thank you for enlightening us on Constitution and explaining the supremacy of this Constitution. It was indeed an honor to listen to you on Constitution morality with this wonderful webinar. There is a great news for attendees. PLC India is planning to come with a law journal. We will accepting rolling submissions, and there will be no bar on choosing the topic. The information regarding submission will be rolled out soon. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, sir.